What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. So before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a couple of my subscribers for showing love to the channel. First of all, I want to give a shout out to IllWill42 for showing love to the channel with a $20 donation via Cash App. And I really appreciate that you watch my content, enjoy my content. I try to do the best videos I can for you guys. And much respect to you for showing love to the channel. Also, much respect to Keenan Ivory Wayans' voice. I know that you are, he donated through the Cash App as well. And I know that he's a Nuggets fan. And, look, we're not always going to agree on everything. And, I appreciate that. A lot of you guys bring some interesting arguments to the table. And, one thing about my channel and a lot of other people's channels is that we can have a healthy debate about things. As long as we don't get disrespectful toward each other, that's fine. You know. And I want to thank everybody that has supported me on this channel through your donations, through your support, through your positivity, your comments, and anybody that does want to donate to this channel, show love, you can do so in the links in the description box below. I also have a Patreon. The Patreon is for not safe for YouTube topics, social media, politics, and it's only $2 per month on the Patreon. I think there's over 400 videos on the Patreon right now. A lot of content already up there. So let's segue into this thing with Jay Williams and Kevin Durant. All right. So I've seen a couple of people. I've seen Ticket talk about this. All right. So I just wanted to wait to see everything that was going to happen and transpire before I talk about it. So in a nutshell, what's happened is that I think Jay Williams, the analyst, ESPN analyst, did a segment where he was comparing Giannis and Kevin Durant. And uh, basically, I think this didn't, according to Jay Williams at least, this didn't sit well with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant approached Jay Williams and basically said, according to Jay Williams, don't ever compare Giannis to me. Okay? Kevin Durant came out and said that was a lie. He didn't say that. But Jay Williams doubled back and said that, yes, he did, and that Kevin Durant is lying. All right? This is my take on that. If there's anybody I have to fault in this situation, it's Jay Williams. I'm tell you why. It's another example of how media, journalists are no longer practicing ethics. Um, Look, years ago, now you could argue that it was too extreme back then and that they should have revealed some things. But I just want to tell you how much of a 180 the media has done with certain athletes, okay, or certain people. The media, for the most part, used to protect people, athletes, celebrities, the whole shebang, okay? Um, they were very selective about what they put out there. Give you a couple of stories, a couple of examples. Politics. I'll go into politics for a second. It was well known that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, amongst journalists, they knew that he had a mistress. They also knew that he was, even though the public didn't know this at large, he was very afflicted by the polio that he had. Now, the American people knew that he had polio, but they didn't know the extent of how much of an invalid he was. He was rarely photographed in his wheelchair, and usually when he was in public, he would have one of his sons or a couple of people who were really really strong guys be to his side, and he would have these leg braces on, and he would swing his legs from side to side to give the appearance of walking. He would have a cane, and it looked like he was walking when it was actually an illusion. But there were times, however, when he would have to go into a car, for instance, and this is when you would see that he was an invalid. He might have to briefly sit in a wheelchair, but they did everything they could, the media, to hide that from the public. It was a gentleman's agreement between the President of the United States, his entourage, his administration, his people, and journalists. Another example, going to the world of sports, Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was well known for being a prodigious personality, home run hitter, all that shit, right? But he was also a very hedonistic individual when it came to women. This is a guy that loved, at one point in his life, I'd say until he was maybe 30 or early 30s, he loved the uh, company of whores. Okay. He also, I don't think too many people know this, Ruth was a habitual cocaine user. As a matter of fact, I wonder if his uses of cocaine is what contributed to the cancer that he eventually developed, because he developed a cancer. Uh, well, I think the tumor was, I think it was like behind his nose, like sort of, like can't exactly say it was, but it was behind. I know it was in the region behind his nose. You do wonder that, but I do know that he used cocaine. They didn't report that. He was involved in a lot of lewd fucking behavior behind the scenes. They never reported that because they just wanted to maintain the myth of Babe Ruth. I'll give you an example from Hollywood. Wallace Beery. Wallace Beery was at one point in time the biggest star in Hollywood. Okay, and yes, I say Hollywood. I don't call it Hollywood. He's one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, and but apparently he murdered somebody. Right? I don't know if you ever heard about this story, but it happened back in 19, I think 37, and it was supposedly Wallace Beery, Cubby Broccoli. Now, Cubby Broccoli would go on to be a producer, and he was known for being a producer of a lot of Bond movies from the 60s and 70s, I think early 80s. Well, it was Cubby Broccoli, Wallace Beery, and I think a mob figure. I can't remember the guy's name, but apparently they got into an altercation with Ted Healy. Now, Ted Healy, if that name sounds familiar to any of you all, he was the founder of the Three Stooges. Okay, it used to be Ted Healy and his Stooges. Now, ultimately, the Stooges went solo, I think around 1934, and signed with Columbia. And Ted, still remained a solo star, but he wasn't the star that he was earlier by that time. But anyway, Ted Healy had, I think, just had a baby with his wife, and he was celebrating, but he got really, really drunk. He was well known to be a drunkard. Got into an argument with these guys. They beat the shit out of him to the point where he died the next day. Well, they covered that shit up. I think the executives of I can't remember who Barry was with. Might have been MGM. I can't remember who he was with. Um, but anyway, they covered that shit up, man. Barry, you know, coincidentally went on a European trip, uh, and they covered it up. The media, the media, all of that shit. Now, is that a good thing? Not necessarily, but that's the code they used to be on. Another thing is that if you ever watch movies, I know you've seen this. You ever hear the term "off the record"? Well, that's usually a term that's used by journalists and their subjects when something is supposed to be said between the journalist and that person, but it's not supposed to be printed publicly. It's not for public consumption. It's between that journalist and that person. And anybody that violates that is usually persona non grata toward subjects. When I say subjects, I mean people who they want to interview. If you have a reputation for being a guy that they can't trust, they're going to spread that to other people, and your reputation is going to be sullied. And a lot of newspapers are going to probably drop your ass because nobody's going to want to talk to you, not anybody important. So that's very important as far as the ethics of journalism. So if Kevin Durant did say this, right, clearly he said it off the record. Now there's gonna be some people like, well, if he said it, he shouldn't have said it. Well, if I'm your friend and you have a relationship with me and you confide things to me, and you trust me, okay. Now there's certain things that you're gonna tell me that aren't meant to be repeated. There's some other things that you wouldn't mind if I told somebody else. You went to, yeah, John went to Arby's last night with Felicia. You know, yeah, they had a good time. Or, yeah, John, he's working on getting his degree. You don't mind me telling that shit. But something that you've done that's personal, you know, or something very, very personal about you, you don't want me telling that to someone else because you trust me. But if I go and reveal that, you'll never talk to me again and you'll never trust me again. And that, I think, is why Kevin Durant is so irate about this. I think that him and Jay Williams may have had at one point in time some type of relationship, uh, platonic relationship, journalist to former athlete to. And that's another thing. Jay Williams is a former athlete. He's a former athlete. He's not someone like Stephen A. Smith who hasn't been part of that side of things. Jay Williams was a star at Duke. Jay Williams probably would have been at least a borderline all star, if not an all star level guard in the NBA level before that terrible motorcycle accident which ruined his career. So Jay Williams knows what it's like to be not only an athlete, but a star athlete, even if it wasn't for that long. So he should know better than this. You know, um, I don't get it, man. Maybe it's the way I look at things, but I should Kevin Durant have said, "Don't compare me." I mean, that's his opinion. But if he said it, he must have said it to the point where he felt comfortable telling Jay Williams that. Because Kevin Durant probably is the type of guy, unlike some others, he doesn't like that type of confusion. Like Kevin Durant's the type of dude I think, and I can relate to this. He only claps back at people. He's not the type to want to start shit. But if you come at him, he'll clap back at you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why I think he's so pissed off at Jay Williams. And I do think Jay Williams revealed this information. If he did say it, I think he revealed it for clicks. He revealed it for his own career, and I think that's pretty despicable, and that's another reason why a lot of people don't like these guys anymore. They don't have any respect for these new age so-called media personalities because they're all about their careers. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to want to advance your career, but it's all about careers. Look, think about it. Skip Bayless, before 2008, 2009, he really wasn't on the radar like that. I vaguely remember him from the sports reporters, but he was not what you would call, until he was 50 something years old, even mildly. I don't really remember him like that. It wasn't until he became a LeBron troll that he blew up. And that's the blueprint now. The blueprint is to hate on people. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's sad, man. I think it's sad if you're going to sacrifice a potential relationship with an athlete just for short term success. You know, but that's my take, man. Tell me what you guys think.